Thanks very much for joining us for this edition of the Intermodal Logistics Podcast. I'm Kevin Baxter, joined by my co-host for this episode, Intech Logistics CEO, Rick Lagore. Hey, Rick.
Hey there. Good to be back.
Yeah, we are back from, this is our first episode back from Long Beach after we recorded 6 podcasts with several wonderful guests there at IANA's Intermodal Expo. You can check out all of those on the previous ones on our feed. And joining us today is someone else who was at IANA's Intermodal Expo. We didn't cross paths there, but we wanted to cross paths virtually at least because Curtis Spencer, the CEO of Bloodhound Tracking Device and IMS Worldwide, brings with him a couple of key issues that have been in the news lately and ongoing for a while here. Cargo theft and foreign trade. So let's start with the cargo theft, because that was kind of the top of mind piece. But tell us a little bit about Bloodhound, how it came to be, and how very vital it seems to be these days, especially.
Oh, you bet. Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. You guys are great. Back in about 45 years ago, I started working for my dad and in the consulting firm called IMS Worldwide. We do global logistics trends analysis. We do foreign trade zones, and working through all that up to the year, 2001, it was all pretty much, very, very easily manageable for most of the supply chains. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, and we all know how that changed the entire world. Well, from that point on, I was part of several committees working under the COAC, if you're familiar with that term, the Commercial Operations Advisory Committee for Customs, and was charged with finding the technology for securing the supply chain. Customs definitely wanted to be able to do that. Stephen Flynn had written a book basically saying, hey, there's going to be a bomb in a box and we need to be on guard. So everybody in the free world was looking for that magic bullet to protect the supply chains, containers, trailers, all the conveyances. And quite frankly, back there in 2001, it just didn't exist. We didn't have that technology. Well, fast forward 24 years, and I worked with my NASA engineer buddy, and I said, hey, can we do this, 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 and this, and keep the cost down? He said, well, we do that all the time in NASA. So we started working together, we got some financing, and we built really the cream of the crop security and track and trace fleet optimization hardware and software system. Our system fits on the inside of the container or trailer, and the comm unit sits on the outside, but it's covert. It's hidden. People can't tell what it is. All the other trackers out there, it's almost like you put a bullseye on the back door of the container because you can see the big block that's been drilled into the container, and hey, if I'm a bad guy, I know that container's got something in it I want. Ours is completely covert. The second thing is we had to find something that would provide security. So ours has a tamper switch on it. So if you try to knock it off, it's going to scream, hey, at this point, at this time, I got knocked off. We also have a camera that's built off of the door open. If the door opens, we're going to take your picture 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Because we know, especially in talking with the railroads, how they've been, some of their containers on the railroad have been opened in broad daylight, and the thieves just pull the TVs out. And it was, that theft level has just now skyrocketed. So if they have a camera taking a picture of the guy pulling the TV off, guess what? You're toast. And today there's nothing else that has that. There's nothing else that can sniff for human trafficking, for example. You guys know Trump shut the border down, and we just had a news report last night on NBC saying, hey, it's really shut. There's almost nobody crossing. Well, the bad guy isn't stopped. Where else is he going to put those people to transport them into the United States? They're going to go by ocean. They're going to go by trailer. And so having a CO2 sensor as tightly place as we do means you're going to be able to tell if something goes above that threshold. And it's funny. How do you test that? Well, you cram all of our engineers into a container, close the door, and see what happens to the CO2 level. That was a fun experiment. We've done several of those like that. But anyway, our goal was to create the cream of the crop security and track and trace system. So we have all those sensors. We got triple redundant comms, cell, SATCOM, and LoRa mesh. So we literally have an IoT mesh that extends up to 5 kilometers for all the units that have Bloodhound talk to one another. Now you think, well, that's only 5 kilometers. How does that work? Well, you guys know how hard it is on a terminal, whether it's a rail terminal or an ocean terminal, to find that one container that's buried in the stack next to a bunch of other buried containers. Not with our units, you don't. You don't have that problem because this guy that's buried talks to that guy who talks to that guy. Oh, I can see the sky, and he reports for everybody. And we have store and forward, so we never lose data. You know, if your cell phone goes out, you go under a bridge or, you know, next to a power line, your cell connection stopped, all that data is gone. With packet technology, which we've used called disruptive tolerant network communications, all of our packets of information continue to flow forward and never get lost. This is one of those NASA things. It was just genius in the engineering for the Bloodhound system.
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of have the concept, and then you get the people to make it happen with the technology as well. So it kind of sprung out of, as you said, even all the way back to 9/11. You're starting to think about this. How has the sort of use case evolved? You've already talked about a couple here. You're talking about trying to locate something, trying to address when someone's actually breaking into a container or a truck. I mean, there's a lot of different elements there.
Well, you know what's happened in the last 15 years, what's grown up in our industry is a lot of really sophisticated track and trace software systems. They're pulling data from in gates and out gates and rail terminal in and rail terminal out, and pull off the ELD, and those are phenomenal software platforms that are taking disparate data from all over. The problem is, and both FreightWaves and JOC have had articles about this and surveys, where do the providers think that their level of accuracy is? 82%. Where do the shippers and BCOs think that the level of accuracy is? 27%. That's a big disconnect, right? Yeah, that's a big disconnect. So the point is, you got to have accurate intel, accurate knowledge of where your product is. Think about this whole thing. FMC has just been handed a ruling by the court saying, hey, you got to rethink your whole detention demurrage billing issue. That came down this week, right? Brand new. This is, you mean that's back on the table of who the hell gets the bill? Not with a BTD unit, not with a Bloodhound Tracking Device. You know exactly the dwell time. You know exactly where it is. You know the day that it went not silent, but dwelled. You all that detention demurrage is eliminated. The arguments is eliminated. Yeah, and we even have a dwell meter on our user interface so that you can tell, hey, I want to know this container, how long has it been dwelling? Well, I can find it's been there 3.5 days. Holy crap. 2 days ago, their detention started, and you've got to know that accuracy. The second thing is the security. Having your picture taken that's pretty damn good proof that, if you're the guy that opened. Now, if you're the guy who's supposed to open it, that's great. Yeah. If you're not the guy that's supposed to open it, or the location that it's supposed to be open isn't there. And I want you to think about the whole Mexican-U.S. border trade. The expansion of that kind of theft is, I think it's 52% higher than last year, when it was higher than the year before. So cross-border determination of when and where the theft happens is absolutely critical. You add in the picture, and now I've got proof. So we took the idea that's out there with the absolute minimum standard now is cell GPS tracking. And there's a whole bunch of people in this market that do that. And it's I think it's more accurate, or it's additive to the TMS systems that are available, the transportation management system. It's additive to that. But when you have really accurate, no loss of information data, then that 27% is going to get back up to where everybody thinks it should be, in the 80 to 90%. And that's what we're striving to do.
So we were talking before we got started a little bit about the story that was in the news over the weekend too, with Guy Fieri's tequila brand and Sammy Hagar. We don't want to short shrift him either, but
leave Sammy in there.
Yeah. But so if they had Bloodhound, what would the outcome have been of that story?
It's really interesting because I got that. In fact, I watched it on 60 Minutes, and then I got everybody and their pet dog was sending me that clip, and I said, yeah, this is exactly what would have happened. You can't unspoof, the bill of lading spoofing. That's what really basically happened.
Yeah.
A nefarious cab driver, he's not nefarious, but whoever spoofed him showed up with the right paperwork to take that trailer somewhere else. If the Bloodhound unit was on the trailer, guess what? They're not going to know exactly which way that thing's going. Wait a minute, you're not going this way up to New Jersey. You're going that way to L.A. Mm-hmm. They would have known exactly at the moment that started to happen. Number two, we have geofencing that could have said, hey, the minute you left Laredo and you took I-10 west and not 35 north, everybody knows it. The third thing is, once you got to destination, and they did find one of those container or trailer loads. They didn't find the other one. Well, with a Bloodhound system, the door opens. Guess what? Snap, snap. You got your picture taken, and that goes to the trailer lessee owner or the shipping, the shipper, the actual BCO. In this case, they can in turn, right through our ops center, say, send this to law enforcement. Immediately, that goes to law enforcement. Where, when, and the pictures to boot. So we feel like we've created something that is a much higher level security deterrent, and it's covert in the way it's applied to the conveyance. You can't tell if there's a unit in there. And then the third thing is we provide proof of the door opening. And
it's not connected to the tractor, right? It's on battery power within the. Yeah,
that's a real important point there, Rick. It's completely self-powered, 3 to 5 year battery life. And what's more important, we've made it easy for companies to get involved. No CapEx. It's all on a monthly subscription basis that includes the CapEx and the OpEx. What is the OpEx? The service agreement. Full replacement battery or unit if it's lost or damp, whatever. Just like, you have a phone, it doesn't work, you send it in, the next day you get a new phone by FedEx. Same thing with the Bloodhound devices. If it covers the maintenance, it covers the warranty, it covers the operations 24/7 with multilingual people here in the United States running the ops center. So you get all that tracking capability. Couple of customers during our 2 years of trials said, hey, we don't want to have somebody watching the screen the whole time. Can you send us the information when there's a breach, when the humidity gets too high, when the temperature gets too high, when the CO2 gets too high, or the door opens, or the dwell gets too long? We have email send. So it's a normal ping rate, which, by the way, is not once a day like a lot of the competitors are. It's once every 15 minutes to 8 times a day. You, the customer, choose. Battery, not impacted. It's technically impacted, but we built it for the 15 minutes. So it lasts 3 to 5 years on a 15-minute ping. We worked for literally a whole year. Our engineers took what we had and pull all the power out of it. And that's what these NASA engineers are great at, right? How do you get that power down to the absolute minimum that you need? And so our technology does that. I mean, that's head and shoulders above anything else out in the market. and it allows us to ping more often. So the guy said, hey, can you push the information to us? Yes. We want to know when our ship gets close to port, so you geofence the port. So as long as it's inside the port, we know it. But once the container goes outside the port, we want a ding. Well, we can do that too. They wanted to know, can we remotely upgrade the firmware and software? Absolutely. We have OTA upgrades. All the software and firmware goes over the air, just like your cell phone. You know, you get your notification, hey, your cell phone's going to upgrade to, what is it, ISO 16.357, whatever it is, right? And so we've taken all those really cool technical capabilities and put them into this tracker and kept it covert.
So I think what's interesting is, you know, when you think of the fraudulent double brokering, you don't think of the tracking piece as being, you know, obviously cargo theft, you know, the physical cargo theft, you think of, okay, yeah, somebody's opening a container, you have something in there. Right. But you don't really think of the double brokering as maybe having something like this as being able to address that too. But you just took us through how it works both ways, really, for these two kind of competing but big problems.
You've hit on something really important. So we're trying to sell to fleets. Adapt and put your entire fleet loaded with Bloodhound Tracking Device. But if you're Guy Fieri and he only has 50 loads a year, we also have a closed loop BCO model where at factory, that unit gets put on by his people. And it doesn't come off until it gets to the distribution centers where we've got labor all across the United States that will pull that stuff off. Now, we have high value stuff like 2 trailers of $1 million worth of tequila. You got cell phones, you got servers, you got, a multitude of high-value pharma, high-value products. And, now the FBI and these cargo monitoring services are actually defining what the thieves are looking for. And that's it. It's electronics, it's footwear, things that are easy to sell on eBay or wherever, right? Footwear, electronics, pharma, food products. I even had a guy, I'm in Houston. I had a guy that was shipping resin from his packaging facility to a facility in Ohio to use the resin. Resin is $30,000 for a whole 53-foot trailer, right? They stole the freaking resin. That's in 55-kilo bags of plastic pellets. They'll steal anything. They'll steal anything. So the issue is we've also got that closed loop system for shippers because they may be completely agnostic to the trailer or which trucking company gets it. So it's another way to kill this double brokerage problem. Mm-hmm. As long as I'm loading it at my factory, my manufacturer, or my distillery, I can put that sucker right up there. And then we'll take it off at your distribution center. Because a lot of times those distribution centers are run by 3PLs. You don't want the 3PL to have to add labor, then he's going to charge you extra. We provide that service as Bloodhound.
So you've talked a few times about the covert nature, how it's not so obvious that it's there. So what are some of the ways that you disguise these devices?
So the inside unit is right up behind the lip of the door. So you don't see it unless you're actually really looking for it. And then it's got 700 pounds of magnetic force on it. It takes a lot to knock the thing off. It doesn't come off. We actually literally, in our lab, we had to build a special tool to take the thing off because it was killing everybody trying to, put it on, fix it, remove it, So we built a special tool for that. The outside unit for containers looks just like a container vent. Patented form factor of a container vent. On the trailer, it sits up top. You can't see it. Now, let me tell you what else we're doing. For cross-border trade, we're putting a nice big QR code on that unit that sits on top. What does Customs have at every border crossing? A camera that sits up on top and looks down and Customs is extremely excited. DHS, National Targeting City, hey, hurry up and get these things out into that Mexico-U.S. trade, because quite frankly, if we see that unit on top and you've signed an agreement that you will forward us as law enforcement any breach information from origin to destination, guess what? We're pushing them. We're working, and this is my 40 years plus working with U.S. Customs in a variety of scenarios. We're going to the highest level saying, hey, remember we talked about a green lane a long time ago? We talked about a true green lane. Now, Customs, are you resource rich or resource poor? We're resource poor. We gotta concentrate our inspection efforts on the bad guys, not the good guys. That's why they created CT-PAT. I was co-chair with Lisa Schimmelfending of Walmart for 4 years as CT-PAT chair for COAC. I understand that CT-PAT program forwards and backwards, way more than I should, quite frankly. But if you have that QR code and it's red and Customs knows that doesn't require resources, because we've got an agreement by the trucking company, hey, any breach, you're getting it right when it happens. It could have happened 400 miles south of the border. Customs will know it.
Right.
This could revolutionize cross-border trade.
A lot of applications there, and
Yes,
when you're speaking of cross-border trade, the other putting on your other hat as an industry watcher and your IMS hat there as well.
Yes, sir.
So how are you seeing the especially with the foreign trade zone side of things? We were talking about pull forward and all that kind of stuff happening earlier in the year with tariffs. What did you see happening over the course of the year, and where are we at now?
Well, I sent Trump flowers because when tariffs averaged 2.5%, foreign trade zones were great. They helped people, and we used it a lot, and our company grew from 2 people to 25 people, literally over a 20-year period. I've had to add almost the same amount of people in the first 8 months of this year. So it has doubled and tripled our particular business, because you were talking about pull forward. Right when pull forward started, everybody and their pet dog needed a foreign trade zone. They needed it yesterday. Right. I mean, it was crazy. But the only mechanism that can mitigate a little bit of tariff pain is the foreign trade zone program. Bonded warehouses, yeah, but then you go back to 1779 law that created bonded warehouses, and the mentality of how you operate a bonded warehouse is still stuck 2 centuries ago. Foreign trade zones are much more modern animals, if you will, for you to navigate. Domestic and foreign on the same shelf, no cages, it's a much simpler process. Now, a lot of people went, well, hey, with all these new executive orders, the inverted tariff benefit, where you bring in higher parts duty, make a cheaper product or a lower duty rate product, that went away with these executive orders. But the order of magnitude of the tariff benefit on deferral, destruction, and export went 100 times larger. So I reduced the one benefit. That hurt me a little bit. But what I got was, we did an analysis for a company that only had 6 million in imports. 6 million. Okay. I would have thrown that one out. I said, guys, don't even run the numbers. There's no way he's going to save enough to cover the cost of operating a foreign trade zone. Turns out he was exporting 35% of his product at a 55% duty rate. Do that math. That's over $1.5 million he didn't have to pay. So the dynamic of who qualifies for a foreign trade zone has now come way down to small and medium-sized companies. So and I don't see it, when Trump was in office, we had higher tariffs. Biden came into office. Did any tariffs go down? No. They stayed exactly the same. And in fact, some of them increased a little bit. Some of the loopholes got eliminated. Now Trump 2, and now the tariffs are everywhere on everybody. I mean, little Haiti said, oh my God, don't put tariffs on us. We've converted everybody here to manufacturing apparel. And if you put tariffs on Haiti, even 10%, you're going to, from 0 to 10%, that's a pretty hefty increase. So tariffs are affecting every importer in every walk of life. I don't care where you are. And the only way to really mitigate it is using that foreign trade zone.
So your business, is it, do you set up the foreign trade zones for somebody, or do you have warehouses that you operate yourself, that multiple customers running it through your foreign trade zone, or what is the service?
Yeah, our model is we set up the foreign trade zone, and then we third-party FTZ operate the foreign trade zone. Okay. So we don't provide the labor and the warehouse and anything like that. In fact, some of the largest 3PLs are our customers because they don't have the bandwidth and that knowledge base of 40 plus years with all my employees already trained or already background checked by customs, blah, blah, blah. We can get in there and set up the zone as fast as government will let us. Now, that's a big deal, right? As fast as.
So how fast is that nowadays? Yeah.
No, I wish you hadn't asked that question.
Probably not today in particular.
It's longer than it was last year.
Okay.
But I got to hand it to the people at the Foreign Trade Zone Board staff. They're doing a yeoman's job, because if our business went up 100%, you can imagine their business has gone up probably 300-400%. So yes, they're doing a great job at the Foreign Trade Zone Board. Customs, for their part, is doing a very good job as well. A shout out to our customs officers in Phoenix. Their growth has been phenomenal over the last 15 years, and they've handled it. I mean, that's the crack customs location in the country, in my opinion. Best to work with, knowledgeable as hell, and they get things done. Other good ones, Houston, Indianapolis, you can just read it off the list. But these are government employees that are really they had a full job with no resources to start with, and now it's doubled. So That's why I think also at the border, if you can let me know that this shipment is safe, then I don't have to put resources at that. They can put resources at other things. And that's a critical thing. When CTPAT really got started, everybody had to do a risk assessment so that customs would place you in high risk, low risk, medium risk, right? Then they concentrate on the high risk people because they're confirmed that the low risk people have got procedures and systems in place to add security to the supply chain. That was the whole point.
So with the cross-border discussion, I mean, obviously we've been hearing for a number of years the idea of maybe more and more volume between Mexico and the U.S. Yes. Maybe it's taken a little bit of a hit lately, I guess. But what are you seeing there? And just a little bit?
A wee bit. It's funny. No, you're right. I mean, the growth rate had averaged about 15 to 20% growth in the trucks northbound and southbound. I mean, we're now in the 30 to 40 to 50% year over year growth rate. Yes, we had a little hit when Trump first got in and started imposing super high tariffs. But you notice what happened. He exempted so many things that fit the USMCA model. So if you really look at, there's these terrible tariffs on things. How much of the 100% of imports does it affect? About 10%, maybe 15%. So a lot of the normal cross-border trade, which is a lot appliance, automotive, plumbing, machinery and equipment, that has not been affected as much at all. So, it makes good headlines, but you got to look down deep into the numbers to find out what it really is doing. Now, the biggest problem, and this is on Mexican side, on the U.S. side, on the global side, is the uncertainty. Yeah. The pull forward was a pretty certain thing to do. Very smart by all the retailers. National Retail Federation kind of outlined how that was going to work. John Gold was really smart and making sure everybody knew this is the way to do it. But now we've got some overstocked inventories. You know, we're going to see what the peak season looks like. Most people say we've already had it. I say we've already had it, but you know, as these things settle out, you know, Switzerland's already in negotiations again to get theirs down, and India's back in negotiations again. China's in negotiations again. We're going to see the end of the year. This tariff thing is going to settle out, and yes, it's going to be a lot higher than it was, but it's not going to be 145% to China, and you know, it won't be 80% to India. It's not going to be that way. These things are going to settle out.
Yeah, the outlook is interesting to sort of determine as you try to look a year ahead, 6 months ahead.
It's really hard.
Yeah. But before we let you go, tell folks how they can find out more about both Bloodhound and IMS.
Sure. btdtracker.com is Bloodhound's website, btdtracker.com. imsw.com for the consulting side, the side that has to do with foreign trade zones and stuff. You know, we're going to be at TPM. We were at IANA. We're already set up for next year at IANA. We're everywhere you guys go, it seems like. So yeah, we're in this for the long haul. We've had some really, really good discussions with leaders in this industry, and we're in trials with the top rail, road, and ocean carriers right now. So things are starting to really move.
Great. Yeah. Might
Thanks
need
so
to
much
check in
for having
again.
me.
Yeah, thank you. We might need to check in again with you down the road here and see
Please.
after all the cargo theft is over, see what happens.
That's never going to happen. But we're going to catch some of those bad guys.
I certainly hope so.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Interesting two-pronged expertise, and he had more expertise than that. We could have gone a lot further, but to talk about cargo theft when we've seen so much top of mind, and now it's even getting some more mainstream coverage. It used to be maybe a little bit just an industry thing that everybody knows about, but now we're getting the mainstream coverage, and he's got with Bloodhound something that really addresses a lot of angles there. And then on the other side, obviously, I don't think we've been able to do too many episodes that haven't. I don't know. We didn't say tariff this time, but I think he said tariff a couple times.
Yeah,
but
just a few.
But yeah, both of those things. So Curtis really able to cover a lot of bases there.
Well, there's been plenty about the tariffs, and so we'll back off of that a bit. So, but I mean, on the Bloodhound stuff, I mean, it's super interesting the direction that they've gone, brought in NASA technology. It is far and away a much better piece of technology. I mean, we've even had a couple other people talking about their technology earlier episodes. Good stuff. I mean, to be able to get a picture and when the doors open, know when it's immediately off track, because I mean, this stuff is turned really quickly. And I mean, a lot of tracking has been with the driver's cell phone or it's on the tractor.
Yeah.
To have it covert on the trailer or the container makes a huge deal, because I mean, a lot of this stuff is stolen and it's brought to a port city as quickly as possible, transloaded within minutes onto another container that is then overseas. So the quicker that you can find that your product is out of sync of where it was supposed to be going, and then snap a couple pictures when it happens, because these transload areas that these guys are using is pretty sophisticated. This is not just run-of-the-mill kind of theft anymore, and it takes a higher level of technology to get these guys. So I'm super happy for him, and hopefully that he can make some serious inroads with the railroads and some of the fleets out there. But also, I was really interested in the BCO aspect, because that was
yeah.
I mean, because as a non-asset provider, how do we provide the services to it could be any one of number of containers, but it's that same customer that we're always dealing with, and it's the same origin and the same delivery location. So if Bloodhound can bring in their people to go ahead and load and unload their technology out of the container, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, using the Guy Fieri story as an example, it was just interesting because basically it was a fraudulent double brokered situation where they were actually continuing to provide updates,
Right.
false updates about where it was, saying that we'll deliver it this day. It's 2 hours away. They basically said the truck was having some mechanical issues and over a few days. But as he said, you can't fake that if you get the direct information from the trailer itself, which they didn't have. So, so yeah, it's interesting to think of it as, you think of the physical cargo theft piece of just like stealing something out of a container, but it does address, as I mentioned earlier, some ways to maybe catch up to the broker fraud situation too.
Oh, absolutely.
So again, thank you very much to Curtis for joining us on this edition of the Intermodal Logistics Podcast. And thank you for watching and listening as well. You can drop us a comment on any platform that you like. Please do rate and review us as well. Subscribe, follow, and we would enjoy that quite a bit. And we hope that you're able to get every episode as soon as it comes out. As well, you can also email us at podcast@intechlogistics.com with any other questions and visit www.intech